Hi everyone. So in today's video, we're going to talk about what is counselling and how it can benefit you. So have you kind of had any issues around anxiety, depression, felt overwhelmed, issues with relationships, family members, work, etc.? Because this is where counselling could be a really valuable resource in helping to deal with these. Counselling, it offers a kind of a therapeutic space where you're able to then freely explore your feelings and emotions, and you can do this with a counsellor who can provide empathy, active listening, where there'll be no judgment, no criticism, and ultimately it's confidential as well, so it stays within that room, within that space. Obviously, unless there's a risk of harm to yourself or anybody else, then people may need to be notified, but that will ultimately be discussed with you first. This space also as well, it's a space where you can confide in your therapist, because it may well be that you don't have anybody else to talk to, that you're unable to confide in other people, so you don't have them kind of relationships in your life that you're able to do that with. It could be that the relationships you do have, the issues that you have, could be related to that person or people, and obviously you don't feel ready to be able to address them with everything that's going on in your head and how you're feeling, etc. But it could also be that the relationship you have, the people in your life, it could be that you don't want to have yourself perceived in a certain way. It could be that you may feel that they may judge you, because the issue may well not be about them in particular, but it could well be to do with something that you're not quite ready to talk about with them, but you want to get something off your chest, and you want to be able to speak to somebody where you know there's not going to be, like I said, there's not going to be any kind of worry or concern about what that other person's feeling, but there's going to be no judgment. But within that space as well comes, with your counsellor therapist, is what's called the therapeutic relationship. So for me personally, I'm really big on the therapeutic relationship. I feel it's absolutely fundamental to develop one and have one with my clients, because the reason being is that I want my clients to feel safe and trusted, and to feel as though they can trust in me to tell me whatever it is that they want to discuss, because sometimes in therapy we can go to some deep dark places. So for example, we'll also talk about therapeutic relationship. We'll also talk a little bit about modalities. So a modality is what type of therapy that your therapist is using. So is it person-centered? You may have heard of that. CBT, you may well have heard of that, particularly with the NHS. Psychodynamic as well. There's many others. There's short-term therapy. There's transactional analysis. There's emotional therapy. There's so many different therapies and under so many different umbrellas as well. But going back to the type of therapy that is potentially going to be used with yourself, so it depends what therapist you've got and what modality they use. It could well be that they are specifically person-centered only. So that is very much a therapy that deals with issues around the here and now. It isn't anything that's too deep-rooted as such. You don't, with person-centered, you kind of deal with your emotions and your feelings, and you explore them with your person-centered therapist. CBT, for example, cognitive behavioural therapy, is around, it's kind of basically around turning irrational thoughts into rational thoughts, and generally the way that this is done is through tasks. It's through repeating of tasks to help you help to change your thought patterns and your thought processes, to switch them around a little bit. and often that is a repetitive therapy. And again, for those that it works for, it's a really good therapy. However, for those that, it's very clinical as well, but for those that need something that's a little bit warmer, it may well not be the most perfect therapy for them. And also things like psychodynamic as well, which is tends to be where we go and look into childhood, and we go a little bit deeper. So for me personally, I'm integrative, which I've mentioned on my previous videos at this point, which means I work with a combination of, in particular, it's person-centered, CBT and psychodynamic, but then I do have knowledge and experience of other therapies as well. So that means that when working with myself, when I work with my clients, I tend to work with what I feel the best therapy is for them, and we kind of work through that together, so we can ultimately get to the best outcome. But as I said before, all that around skills and different modalities and therapies is good. It's really good, it's part of what we do. But as mentioned, the therapeutic relationship for me is absolutely fundamental. It's key, because I feel and think that it's vitally important for my clients and for you guys out there to be able to trust in your counsellor, to kind of form that union, that bond, for as long as you are together on that journey of self-discovery, or that journey of working through the issue or issues that you've brought to therapy. Whether it be something that is relatively surface level and that's all that it is, but with myself, if someone comes with something that's like a surface level issue, such as they're feeling angry, for example, quite a lot, initially it may turn out that there's an issue at work, and that is kind of affecting them and not really realise. So that's kind of that, but then it could well be, if we look a little bit deeper, that there's other fundamental issues that are affecting their anger, which could relate back to some kind of childhood trauma or some adolescent trauma, or an incident that's happened previously that they've kind of just suppressed or pushed to one side. Because again, with the therapeutic relationship, when I speak to my clients, I liken this to when there's issues in someone's mind, and there's a lot of kind of like dark shadows in there, and the issues are behind them dark shadows. Now, a lot of clients, they know what's there with them behind them dark shadows, but they don't want to face them alone. There's no one kind of in their life who they can trust, that they feel as they can talk to about these issues. So they keep them in the shadows, and for a good therapist, we will kind of hold hands metaphorically, and we'll shine a light on that issue, and let's deal with it together. The client already knows what's there, and when they're ready, we shine the light on it together, and we work through it. But then also in these shadows, there's things like where the client isn't fully sure what's there. They know something's there, but they're not fully sure what it is. So they need to build up some bravery by themselves, but also with the therapist, metaphorically again, by the side, to shine a light on that shadow, to see what it is behind there. It could well be there's nothing there at all, and they were worried for all this time thinking there's going to be a bogeyman in there, and there isn't. But then again, there could well be something that's been lurking in there, and we deal with that together. So that's kind of why the therapeutic relationship is fundamental, because again, a client may come, or you may have something on your mind which you may want to speak to a counsellor about, but deep down you know there's something else there, and you kind of want somebody, your therapist or your counsellor, to spot that and recognise that and coax it out of you. And that's a little bit deep, but that's fundamentally how especially psychodynamic therapy works as well. But all this comes as part of the union and the bond that's formed within the therapeutic relationship between you both. And that's when obviously the skills then come into effect, because you will have a trust in your therapist. You will trust that they know what they're doing, but also they have your best interest at heart, and you can just feel that connection. So that's kind of where where that comes in. But then ultimately, as you work through the issue or your issues, whether it be say with work or relationships or within yourself, the benefits then start to come from that, because you start to see and realise what things you've been doing right and what you've been doing wrong, with regards to how you interact with people, how you interact with yourself, because there's, especially now with social media and everything else, there's so much negative personal talk which seeps out into other people's relationships, because people are often doubting themselves and they're critical of themselves so much so, where they then project that onto other people, and feel as though people are maybe worse than what they are, or they are perceiving them in a way that they are perceiving themselves. But through counselling and therapy, you can get a clear understanding of who you are as a person, as I said, what it is you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, what you can improve on. But it's more that honesty and clarity that you get from counselling. It's more that understanding of who you are and where you fit with those around you. It also helps with relationships, both by way of what you contribute. Could you contribute more? Or are you contributing too much and not getting enough back, and for so long you haven't noticed it? But now you realise that you've been giving so much and getting very little back, and where does that sit with you? Do you deserve more than what you're actually getting? And so likewise, it works the other way. It could be that you're with somebody who's treating you incredibly well and you've not been giving as much as what you could have, due to maybe some kind of attachment style that you've gained throughout your life. But it's only now that you understand your attachment style, for argument's sake. But it also allows you to reflect as well. It allows you to sit alone with your thoughts, because one of the things I see quite a lot today with clients is they're fearful of being alone with their own thoughts. They're fearful of where that'll take them. Not necessarily tendencies of doing anything bad to themselves, but just of things that have happened to them previously and what they've been through, and what that feels like. The people don't like to, a lot of clients I've had don't like to be alone with them thoughts and them feelings, because they're fearful of the pain. But through therapy, yeah, there does tend to be pain as you work through it, but you're working through to get from one point to the other. And again, with therapy, it isn't a straight line. It does tend to be, you start there, up, down, left, right, circles, back, forward, until eventually you do end up where you want to end up, where you need to end up. But again, that all comes from the relationship you have with your therapist, the therapy itself, the work that you put in as well, and the recognition of where you are in this journey, and understanding that your therapist is there to kind of have your best interests at heart, so to speak, whilst at the same time being as neutral as possible. So they will potentially challenge you if especially when you've had a relationship with them for a while and they feel as though that you're doing something that isn't quite working properly for you. They will challenge you on it and ask you what's happening here, or talk to me more about that. And it may well be you don't know why you're doing it, but then when you start to talk about it and think about it, you then realise where you've been going wrong. And so it's with that we realise the importance of it, because it could well be that you've historically felt angry, you felt low moods, depressed. Depression tends to be unresolved trauma, so depression does tend to be something that's happened, or a serious thing that's happened in your past, and you've ultimately suppressed it, but it's finding its way out. So depression does tend to have kind of a nucleus. It tends to be something that's hidden or pushed down. But anxiety tends to be a kind of offshoot of depression. So it could well be that these negative feelings that have been around you pretty much for all your life, for as long as you can remember, start to dissipate. The other thing as well could well be that your relationship choices. You may see that you've been making a pattern of choices with partners. But when you come to understand yourself and the reasons possibly why that's happening, it then enables you to shift focus and to maybe look at things a little bit differently, because when you start to see the pattern of what's happening and why it's happening, then you then have the power to stop it. So you can build that relationship with yourself, know what you deserve, know what you can provide, know where you can improve. But then when you're searching, if you are looking for love, looking for a partner, you can have a better idea of what you realistically want and what they can provide, where you can both equally be happy together. So that kind of is what counselling's about. It's about the knowing where you are, having an idea of what you want to gain from it, how you want to be better, finding the correct therapist, as mentioned in a previous video about searching for your therapist and stuff, finding the correct one, building that relationship together, going on that journey together, figuring things out together, so you eventually come through the other side. Yeah, as I said, there may well be some pain and tears and a little bit of heartache along the way, but this is what will bring you to where you want to be. So hopefully that's helped a little bit with regards to what counselling is, a little bit, how it works, how you can benefit, and yeah, hopefully that's helped you out a little bit as well. So good luck with it. Let me know if you've where you are on your journey with counselling. Have you had it and it's worked for you? Have you had it and it's not worked for you? Do you know the reasons why it's not? Are you thinking about it and not quite sure? Please just let me know in the comments, and please like and subscribe, because future videos are going to be all ranges of counselling, therapy and relationships. So there's going to be in the future, there's going to be all different kinds of topics, and obviously if you've got things that you may have in mind that you want me to talk about, then by all means I will. But yeah, there's things around sex and relationships and self-worth, self-care, and many other things really, what I think and hope will be able to help you out on your own individual journey. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.